The astronauts have been told to try out all sorts of different ways of getting in and out of a spacesuit. It's all right stepping into a trouser leg when there's gravity tugging your foot through and holding your other leg anchored. But when you're weightless, there's a terrible tendency for you and the trouser leg to float off in a different direction. One of the main functions of the space station will be to test out all sorts of equipment and home comforts for really long journeys to planets like Mars. Journeys that'll take nearly a year, unlike the 3.5 days to go to the moon. So furniture like this so-called easy chair will be essential to easy living. This is one of only 2 clues the Russians have given us as to what their space station might look like. It shows a really large object, as big as a 5-story office block. This other artist's impression is probably closer to today's reality. It shows separate sections of a rocket being clipped together like a child's construction toy to make one giant space station. Cosmonauts would have to get out and put the thing together. America also plans to put up space stations. One of them, called the Manned Orbiting Laboratory, will be launched by the American Air Force using this monster. It's the second most powerful rocket in the world, and it's called Titan III. As its name implies, it has 3 parts, and it'll launch this tube-shaped space station with a 2-man Gemini spaceship stuck on the front. Once in orbit, the crew transfer to the space station for a tour of duty. Target date, 1968. But even before that, perhaps as soon as next summer, America hopes to have a much simpler space station, built in space out of the spent upper stage of a mighty Saturn V rocket. Once the stage has burned up all its fuel, it'll be left in orbit an empty hulk. But it'll be built with an airlock on one end so that astronauts can climb in and out of it. The idea is to leave the rocket stage in orbit nearly 300 miles above the Earth and motor up to it in a spaceship. Next, join the 2 together. Then, the crew climb into the empty rocket and build themselves a home. First, living quarters. Then a workshop where they can practice all sorts of experiments. Because most of the bits and pieces for the space station already exist, it's hoped to complete the job by the end of next year. The astronauts who actually convert the rocket section will spend a month in orbit. Then they'll return to Earth, leaving the space station ready for its next lot of inhabitants. The next crew will spend 2 months in it, then 6 months, and finally, before 1970, a whole year. The crews who'll commute to and from the space station will go in an Apollo spaceship like this one. It's being adapted to carry 6 men at a time. On reaching the space station, they'll remove the nose cone of their spaceship. They'll stow it away tidily, and then they'll clamber out along this airlock. The airlock is designed to seal off the space station from the vacuum of outer space, and also to let the astronauts go for walks outside if they want to. Finally, the space station itself. This is the section of rocket that'll be used. It's 59 feet long and has 10,000 cubic feet of living space inside, about the size of a 3-bedroom bungalow. It'll be split into 2 rooms, workshop and living quarters. Everything needed, except the floor, will have to be carried in by the astronauts. All food, all oxygen equipment, all power supplies. And they'll make their own cupboards and room dividers out of fabric and wood. One of the main functions of the space station will be to test out all sorts of equipment and home comforts for really long journeys to planets like Mars. journeys that'll take nearly a year, unlike the 3.5 days to go to the moon. So furniture like this so-called easy chair will be essential to easy living. Exercise will be important too. All the time they're in the space station, the astronauts will be weightless, so their muscles will go flabby and their blood vessels go slack unless they take regular exercise. Sleep is another problem. When you're weightless, you're likely to float out of bed and bump your head on something unless you're well tucked in. Even dressing will become a major operation. The astronauts have been told to try out all sorts of different ways of getting in and out of a spacesuit. It's all right stepping into a trouser leg when there's gravity tugging your foot through and holding your other leg anchored. But when you're weightless, there's a terrible tendency for you and the trouser leg to float off in a different direction, as anyone who's been weightless inside an aircraft knows. Still, there are compensations. Climbing stairs from the living room to the workshop is a problem too. In fact, these tests showed that stairs were a bad idea, and that it would be better to give the astronauts a rope to climb up and down. In a cumbersome spacesuit, anything can happen. Space tools. Doing repairs in outer space is difficult. Without gravity to anchor you, an ordinary spanner makes U-turn instead of the nut. And a power drill can send you spinning like a top. Unless, of course, the power drill is designed to take up the twist before it reaches you. Atmosphere inside a spaceship is crucial to the safety of any mission, but on a really long space flight, it becomes a major factor. These animals have been living for more than a year inside miniature cabins, breathing different gas mixtures to see which one is the most suitable for men in a large space station. They've found, for instance, that it may be better to let the astronauts breathe a mixture of oxygen and helium rather than just plain oxygen. From experiments to practical work, a space station going round the world once every 2 hours makes an excellent observation post. Not only that, but as you go higher, so everything below becomes crystal clear. You can see objects on the ground better from 100 miles up than from 40,000 feet, because of the peculiar way that light travels. That's Florida. And there's Britain. The crews of America's space station will be told to make a thorough survey of the Earth, mapping geological features and searching for signs of hidden mineral deposits. From Earth to the Sun. Next year, the Sun's due to go through its most active phase, puffing out great clouds of radioactive gas, and the space station will give a chance to study it. And also to study the stars as they've never been seen before. Astronomers on Earth are hampered in their observations by the blanket of atmosphere which distorts the stars. But up in a space station, it should be possible to get really clear pictures of all the objects in the heavens. To make these scientific studies, the Americans plan to send up this strange-looking telescope to link up with the space station. It'll be mounted underneath a modified moonship. This gives you an idea of its size. And there's the driver's cab. Another possibility being considered is to deliver the bits and pieces of a radio telescope to the space station and then let the astronauts erect this kind of miniature Jodrell bank nearby. When the whole American space station is complete in 1969, it'll look like this: Apollo spaceship, telescope, living quarters, workshop, a very different structure from what the Russians apparently have in mind. The big question is, who will get their space station up first?